What if I told you that while 8 billion people wake up tomorrow and repeat the same routine, you are on the edge of something different, something bigger, something that will shatter every expectation anyone ever placed on you? Pause for a second. Breathe it in. Because this isn't hype. This is a wake-up call. And if you feel even a tiny spark in your chest right now, that's not an accident. That's recognition. Most people will live and die inside a script they didn't even write. Go to school, get the job, play it safe, don't be too loud, don't be too ambitious, don't dream too big. And slowly, without even realizing it, they shrink. They shrink their ideas, their voice, their potential. Until one day they look in the mirror and see someone who looks tired, not from effort, but from holding themselves back. But you've always felt different, haven't you? Maybe you were the kid who asked too many questions, the one who couldn't accept because that's just how it is as an answer. Maybe you've always felt like you were meant for something more, even when you couldn't explain what that more was. And sometimes that feeling felt like a gift. Other times, it felt like a burden. Let me tell you a story. There was a young man who worked a 9-to-5 job in a gray office building. Every day he rode the same elevator, sat at the same desk, stared at the same flickering fluorescent lights. His coworkers talked about the weather, about weekend plans, about small, safe dreams. But inside him, there was a storm. He had ideas, visions. He'd go home at night and write them down in a notebook no one knew about. For years, he did nothing with those ideas. Why? Because the world told him, be realistic. His family said, don't risk stability. His friends said, you've got a good thing going. Why mess it up? Sound familiar? One night, after another long day, he looked at himself in the mirror and asked one question. If I keep living like this, who will I become in 10 years? And the answer terrified him. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was ordinary. That was the moment everything changed. Here's what most people don't understand. Being chosen doesn't mean you're handed success. It means you're handed a decision, a crossroads, a moment where you either step into your potential or you bury it. And let's be honest, stepping into your potential is uncomfortable. It means outgrowing people. It means being misunderstood. It means failing publicly. It means betting on yourself when there's no guarantee. 8 billion people will choose comfort, not because they're weak, but because comfort is seductive. It whispers, stay here, you're safe. And safety feels good until it becomes a cage. You, on the other hand, feel restless, even when things are fine, even when life is good enough. There's this quiet voice inside that says, this isn't it. That voice? That's the difference. The chosen ones are not the loudest in the room. They're not always the most talented. They're not the luckiest. They're simply the ones who listen to that voice and act on it. Think about every person who ever exceeded expectations, every innovator, every artist, every leader. At some point, they were doubted, laughed at, questioned. People told them they were unrealistic, too ambitious, delusional. But here's the secret. Exceeding expectations only happens when you stop living by other people's expectations. Let that sink in. If you live your life trying to meet what others think is possible for you, you will always operate inside their limitations. And most people's vision for you is small. Not because they hate you, but because they project their fears onto you. They say, be careful, because they're afraid. They say, don't dream too big, because they gave up on their own dreams. They say, that's risky, because they chose safety. But you weren't built for average. You feel it when you watch someone succeed, and instead of jealousy, you feel ignition. You think, if they can do it, why not me? That's not arrogance. That's awareness. Let's break something down. There are two types of pain in this world. the pain of discipline, and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline wakes you up early when you don't feel like it. It forces you to practice when no one's watching. It demands consistency when motivation fades. The pain of regret? That one shows up years later, quietly. It sits next to you when you realize you never tried, when you wonder what would have happened if you had just taken the leap. Which pain do you want? Because you don't get to avoid pain. You just choose your version. The chosen ones choose discipline over and over again, not because it's glamorous, but because they've tasted regret before and they refuse to swallow it again. Let me be real with you for a moment. Exceeding every expectation doesn't start with a massive breakthrough. It starts with small, invisible decisions. The decision to read instead of scroll, to work on your craft instead of binge watching, to save and invest instead of spending to impress. No one claps for those moments. No one sees the early mornings, the late nights, the self-doubt, the quiet tears when you wonder if you're crazy for even trying. But those are the moments that separate you from the 8 billion who stay stuck. Stuck isn't a place. It's a pattern. It's waking up and hitting snooze on your potential. It's complaining without changing. It's dreaming without doing. And the scary part? Stuck feels normal when everyone around you is stuck too. That's why environment matters. If you surround yourself with people who think small, you will unconsciously shrink. If you surround yourself with people who chase growth, you'll feel pulled upward. Look at your circle. Really look. Do they challenge you, inspire you, push you, or do they keep you comfortable? You don't need 1,000 people. You need a few who remind you of who you're becoming. And sometimes, that means walking alone for a while. That's one of the hardest parts of being chosen. The loneliness. The season where you're building something no one understands yet. Where you can't fully explain the vision because it's still forming. People might call you obsessed, different, too intense. Let them. Intensity is often the price of excellence. Think about an athlete training for the Olympics. While everyone else is sleeping, they're running. While others are partying, they're practicing. From the outside, it looks extreme. But from their perspective, it's necessary. If you want extraordinary results, you can't live an ordinary routine. Now, let's talk about fear, because fear will show up. It always does. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. But here's a reframe that changed my life. Fear is often a sign of expansion. It appears right at the edge of growth. If something doesn't scare you a little, it probably won't change you much. The question isn't, am I afraid? The question is this fear worth the life I want? Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's movement despite it. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing you have wings, but never having used them. You can step back into safety, or you can jump and trust what's inside you. Most people step back. The chosen ones jump. And yes, sometimes they stumble, sometimes they fall. But every fall teaches them how to fly. Here's something no one talks about enough. Exceeding expectations requires identity change. You cannot outperform your self-image for long. If deep down you believe you're average, you'll sabotage extraordinary opportunities. If you believe you're unworthy, you'll shrink when success comes close. So you have to start seeing yourself differently before the world does. Instead of saying, I hope I can, start saying, I'm becoming the type of person who does. That shift is powerful, because when you focus on becoming rather than achieving, everything changes. You don't just chase goals, you build habits, you build mindset, you build resilience. Let's get practical for a minute. If you truly want to exceed every expectation, start with these 5 commitments. Number 1. Master your mornings. The first hour of your day sets the tone. Don't give it to notifications. Give it to growth. Read, reflect, plan, move your body. Win the morning, win the day. Number 2, do one hard thing daily. Something that stretches you, a difficult conversation, a new skill, a bold step toward your goal. Growth compounds. Number 3, track your progress. What gets measured gets improved. Don't rely on feelings. Use data. Journal your wins. Document lessons. Number 4, protect your energy. Not everyone deserves access to you. Limit negativity. Curate what you consume online. Your mind is fertile ground. Be careful what you plant in it. Number 5, visualize the future you. See it clearly. How do you walk, speak, think? Start embodying that version now. These aren't flashy secrets, but applied consistently, they're unstoppable. Now let me ask you something deeper. What would happen if you truly committed for the next 12 months? No excuses, no half effort, just relentless, focused growth. Your life could look completely different. 1 year of discipline can break a decade of limitation, but most people won't do it. Not because they can't, but because they won't stay consistent when it gets boring. Success is often boring. It's repetition, refinement, routine. But on the other side of that boredom is mastery. And mastery, that's where you exceed every expectation, especially your own. Imagine the faces of the people who underestimated you, not in a petty way, but in a powerful way. Imagine showing them what consistency built, not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about them. It's about you versus you. The old you who doubted, the old you who procrastinated, the old you who played small. That version served a purpose. It got you here. But it's not coming where you're going. Growth requires release. Release the need for approval. Release the fear of standing out. Release the story that says, people like me don't succeed. Who told you that? Who decided your limits? And why did you believe them? You are not here to blend in with 8 billion souls repeating patterns. You are here to disrupt your own limitations, to expand, to create, to lead by example. And let me say this clearly. The world needs you at your highest level, not watered down, not hiding, not doubting, at your highest level. Because when you rise, you give others permission to rise too. When you chase your dream unapologetically, you become proof that it's possible. That's how impact works. It starts with one person refusing to stay stuck. Maybe that person is you. If something in this message resonates, if you feel that fire getting stronger, don't ignore it. That's your moment. That's your signal. Comment below, I refuse to stay stuck. Make it real. Declare it. There's power in putting your intention into words. And if this message is speaking to your spirit, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Not for me, for